Hello and welcome to the Bazaar of Moxology, a video series devoted to the art of eternal magic. If you'd like to support this series, please throw me a subscribe on YouTube and consider supporting me on Patreon as well. On that note, cue the music. Hello and welcome to the Bazaar of Moxology, a magic series that focused on eternal magic such as legacy, vintage, and everything else in between. As this month's episode entails, we are going to be talking about a deck based on the card Ziasbond. The deck is called Ziasbond. And here to help us talk about that deck is the creator of Ziasbond, Greg Hughes. How you doing tonight, Greg?
I'm doing quite well, Joe. How about you?
I'm doing all right. We've had some fun trying to get this episode done, but I think we can get it done finally. So, but yeah. So we are here to talk about Ziasbond. Again, that is a deck that is based off Ziasbond. So we're going to get to talking about Zias himself, as well as talking about the deck and how the deck came about and all that sort of things. And then we're also going to do some games a little bit later with the deck and show off a little bit about it and how it works. And then we're going to talk about Eternal Weekend a little bit because by the time this comes out, Eternal Weekend will have happened. So we're going to talk about our predictions for Eternal Weekend, and we can come back to this later and see if we were right or not. All right. So in a few seconds, we're going to be talking to Zias more. And I just want to remind you guys that totally not sponsored at all, but if you guys are not currently using Card Hoarder for all your Magic Online needs, you should be. So if you guys want to use rental programs or anything like that, definitely check out Card Hoarder. I am totally not sponsored, but I use Card Hoarder all the time, and they are a fantastic service. So you guys should totally go check them out at cardhoarder.com. Thanks. All right, so Greg, wanted to talk to you a little bit about where you come from, who you are, how did you get into Magic, how did you get into Vintage, what are the things that kind of drove you to this format, and what do you like about it so much? So take it away, Greg.
Yeah, so I've been playing Vintage for a very long time. So I started playing Magic around 2001. So 7th edition was my thing, that era of Magic cards. I remember the first time that I found one of those, I think it was a 7th edition starter kit with a foil Thor elemental.
Nice.
And I thought that was the craziest thing that I'd ever seen. And I called one of my friends and I'm like, this thing must be so valuable. It's a 7/7 trample. And he's like, dude, you got it in the starter deck. It's worth nothing. So my dreams were shattered at a young point, but I loved the game. I was transfixed by the art. It didn't take me a long time before I started looking back at the older cards, and that sort of mysterious ancient look that they had appealed to me just on that level.
Right.
And once I saw somebody berserk a Psychotog, it was all over. That was the beginning. And at the time, there were regularly 30 to 80 person tournaments in the Northeast area. So I'm a native of the Boston area. That's where I am right now.
Right.
And so you could go to tournaments all the time, and it was just so much fun.
That's great. Sounds like you've been around the format for a long time. You've seen a lot of changes in the format.
Oh, yes.
What do you think about Vintage right now and where things are at right now with the format?
This has been a weird 2 years. I mean, especially this last year has been crazy. So I had a fairly long hiatus. Like many Magic players, I declared that I quit in around 2005 or 6 and then came back in 2014, 2015. So I've been observing the Vintage metagame since then. And for a while, it was fairly stable. Vintage was known as that format where you could just be that person who played the same deck at every event every year. You didn't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
But in the last year, it's just constant change, and it's really hard to keep up with.
Yeah, it really
like I know
is.
we were talking about blue, white, red Xerox, like the
Right.
Dreadhorde Arcanist builds. They were everywhere 3 weeks ago. Now, they didn't even crack the top 32 of the most recent challenge.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, from a metagaming perspective, it makes it really difficult because you can't really metagame against shape-shifting field, or at least it's harder, but it is exciting.
Yeah, it does make every event a little bit more interesting, that's for sure. All right, so Greg, so obviously we're here this week to talk about this deck that bears your name, your screen name, Ziasbond. And that deck is a pretty interesting deck, and it all hinges based around the card Fastbond, which was recently unrestricted the last couple months or so in Vintage. So kind of talk to me a little bit about how you came on to Ziasbond as an initial build and how we came to it as it exists now.
Yeah, so that's really a two-part story. And the first part really begins with the long heritage of Mishra's Workshop's decks that have splashed for colored spells. So obviously, most Vintage players, perhaps all Vintage players, are familiar with Workshop decks being mono brown, just
Right.
artifacts. But that didn't used to be the case. There were plenty of Workshop decks in the past that would splash for colored spells. So you get the really fun stuff like Ancestral Recall and Goblin Welder, or even I've seen Dark Confidant, these other ways of generating value.
Right.
And in the past, some people had tried green as a color. It was one of the lesser explored options, but it gave you the singleton Fastbond. It gave you, some crop rotations. This was more viable before Mental Misstep was a card.
Right.
Yeah, that really it's possibly the worst feeling in Magic to have your crop rotation Mental Missteps. You lose your land for the turn and your spell.
Yeah.
It's just terrible.
Yeah. And they lose basically nothing at that point, so.
Yeah, they just half asleep, click their, yeah, sure, I'll pay 2 life, whatever, and then go about with their day.
Right.
But, Workshop decks, especially Prison decks, have really wanted that effect of tutoring for land. Because a lot of opponents will play basic lands, so your wastelands are not as effective, and your supposed Crucible wasteland lock isn't so effective anymore. So people tried expedition maps and, again, crop rotation at some point, but Mental Misstep rained on that parade. And of course, you got cards like Exploration, so that you could strip mine people twice, or the Singleton Fastbond if you just so happen to be blessed by the gods of Eris.
Right.
But it wasn't reliable. So there's that aspect of the story, which has been on and off for years. People have been trying to make that I get to play an extra land effect work in Workshop decks. And sometime last year, I had tried to make it work with Exploration, and it was just terrible.
Yeah.
It was so bad. I wasn't even interested in trying Fastbond at first because the Exploration list was so ineffective. Fastbond is just that much better.
Oh, yeah, it definitely is.
So I popped into, the second part of the story is I popped into Matt Murray's stream after playing against him on Magic Online. So many of you might know Matt by his username, Chubby Rain. I played against him at Magic Online and popped into his stream shortly after, and he was demonstrating some of the really cool stuff you could do with Fastbond and Glacial Chasm and Mishra's Workshop.
Right.
Basically using Workshop to power out some of the really impactful artifacts like Crucible of Worlds, and then Fastbond and Glacial Chasm to enable some powerful infinite combos.
Now,
and at the same time,
yeah. So now, for the people at home who don't obviously know this interaction, Glacial Chasm is a land that, when it comes into play, you have to sacrifice a land. But it also says that it prevents all damage that would be dealt to you. And so Fastbond, as you can see on the screen there, I've got it up, is a enchantment that whenever you play a land that is not the first land you've played that turn, it deals one damage to you. But because Glacial Chasm is in play, you don't take any damage. So it's pretty impactful for being able to just play as many lands as you want.
Yeah, that's really the heart and soul of the combo aspect of the deck. It's strange that Fastbond has that templating where it says deal damage, because you know that today it would be pay life
Lose
or lose
life, yeah.
I was almost surprised. Oh, please.
No, you're fine. Go on.
Oh, I was going to say I was somewhat surprised that they didn't consider issuing an errata on Fastbond when they unrestricted it, just for this simple fact, this loophole that allows you to take advantage of its ability with essentially no cost.
Right. So you were kind of hopping around Matt's stream, and from that point, you kind of just decided to kind of go for trying to work on this deck?
Yeah, so Matt was demonstrating what he could do with the list, some really cool stuff, and Mike Noble, another great vintage player, another streamer, he also was working on that style of list and shared it with me, and based on what they provided and with the exploration-based list, I started testing it shortly after, and the very first league I brought it to, I very nearly 5-0, 10-0'd it. The only loss was when I just forgot that I didn't have enough mana to cast a Null Rod, and I pitched a land. So I was really close, and once I saw how powerful that was, I knew that I had to keep pursuing it, so I just played only that for the next few weeks. And it wasn't long before it finally started, doing well.
All right. And then after that, you 5-0'd with it, another person 5-0'd with it, and then it started putting up results in the Magic Online challenges, and there wasn't any in this last weekend's the challenge of the weekend before Eternal Weekend that I saw, but it seems like it's put up some consistent results.
Yeah, it has. I think it's very powerful, and I think that, it's a common idea that in a chaotic metagame such as we have, you want to be proactive. You want to be executing your strategy, because you can't really, or at least online, you can't really go into a tournament saying it's going to be 14% Jeskai Xerox, 12% Shop, 7% Dredge. You will otherwise end up having the wrong hate cards for the wrong matchups just because you can't anticipate ban.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right. So we're going to talk a little bit about how the deck operates here in a second. All right. So, Greg, walk us through a little bit about how Ziasbond works, and obviously let's talk a little bit about some of the synergy of the deck and some of the important cards that are in the deck. We want to talk a little bit about how this deck actually operates and how you approach playing it, because that's kind of important. A lot of people might look at this list and go, well, I don't really understand how this works other than saying Fastbond. And then, saying, oh, well, I can play Fastbond and I can play Crucible Worlds and I can play lands from my graveyard, but I don't really get some of the tiny interaction that's supposed to happen.
Yeah, it's a really bizarre deck, pardon the pun. It's, I think, classified, or you could classify it as a combo prison deck, which feels really weird to say out loud.
Right.
I think when most people look at it, they see the prison aspect of it very. People are very familiar with the idea of using taxing effects like Sphere of Resistance, Trinisphere, and Land Destruction,
Right.
Wasteland and Straight Line and Crucible, and they see that a card like Fastbond can really give that prison strategy some explosiveness, and
Right.
cards like Crop Rotation can give it some reliability. You find that Strip Mine for their irritating basics. The outcome players always have 400 basics, so you always have to get your Strip Mine. So the Fast Bond gives the explosiveness, the Crop Rotation some reliability, and then you've got cards like Enlightened Tutor to find whichever half of the combo you need. And that the Enlightened Tutor was an innovation by the person who top four one of the playoffs with it. Really like that card in this deck. Because if you have the Crucible, you can go get the Fast Bond, and vice versa. It just adds another layer of reliability.
Right.
But it's the combo aspect that I think people miss. And, once Canister played that deck on stream in one of the challenges, and he top four with it as well, a bunch of people picked up the deck. So like, oh my God, that looks so cool. And I played against a lot of people who were new to it, and they were passing the turn when they could have just killed me on the spot, absolutely destroyed. And that's because they didn't really know how to execute the combo because it's not obvious.
Right.
And
so what is one of the ways that the combo gets executed there?
Right. So let's say that you have a Crucible of Worlds, so you can play lands from your graveyard. You've got a Fast Bond, and you've got a Bazaar of Baghdad.
Right.
So you can play for as many life points as you have, +1, as many lands as you want, especially from your graveyard.
Right.
So you activate the Bazaar, you draw a couple of cards, presumably you put a few of the 30-something lands you have into your graveyard. So that's great. You generated some card advantage.
Right.
If you add a Wasteland to the mix, now you can start doing some fun things. You can do the counterintuitive move of wastelanding your own Bazaar. So now you've got the Bazaar and the Wasteland in the graveyard.
Right. But
you can replay both. So you replay your Bazaar, you replay your Wasteland, tap the Bazaar, more milling, hit it again, and repeat. So you can keep, for as many life points you have, you can keep putting more lands in your graveyard, replaying land.
Right.
But if you get the Glacial Chasm, that's where the really twisted stuff starts happening.
Right.
Because, like we said earlier, you don't have to pay any life, or excuse me, the language is important. You don't take any damage from playing additional land.
Right.
So you can, with the Wasteland, the Glacial Chasm, and the Bazaar of Baghdad, put as many cards as you want into your graveyard. That means you get to play all of your land. It also means that you've got infinite mana. So once you take the Wasteland's sites off of your Bazaar of Baghdad, now you can tap a land for mana,
right,
wasteland it, and replay both, and get infinite mana that way. And Matt Murray had the brilliant idea of using Buried Ruin.
Yeah.
Now, Buried Ruin has been used, it's a land, taps for colorless, or you tap it and sacrifice it, pay 2, return an artifact from your graveyard to your hand. Right. This has been used for a long time in Smokestack's deck.
Yeah.
Never with infinite mana. So all of those Sphere of Resistances and Null Rods you put in your graveyard, you just get to replay them all.
Right.
So you get to play all the lands in your deck, and then you get to play Null Rod to turn off all of your opponent's artifacts. And then you play 4 Sphere of Resistance, or 3 Sphere of Resistances in a Trinisphere, whatever configuration you have.
Right.
And you can even strip mine or wasteland all of their lands, play a Tabernacle so that you blow up all of their creatures because they can't pay for anything.
Yeah.
And then you get to create a 2020 flying indestructible black creature with the Thespian Stage Dark Depths combo.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. That's a pretty interesting.
It's not bad. I remember the first time that I I pulled that off on turn 1 on Magic Online, and I'm really grateful that my opponent just sat there and let it happen. I think they were trying to figure it out too. So I posted it. Yeah.
It seems like there's it's an interesting enough thing to watch, but then also like you're trying to kind of like watch it to try and figure out at what point you can interact.
Right.
And
right.
It is really difficult to interact with that.
Yeah. They also might have wanted to get back at me a little bit because it involved a lot of clicking online.
Right.
When you're generating infinite mana in person, you're just like, hey, I have 100 billion mana. There's no mana burn matter.
Right.
But online, you have to damage your wrists and then see a doctor later on.
Yeah, that much is true. And then, so going a little bit further into this deck, obviously I've got the deck list up on the screen now.
Yeah.
And just kind of looking at it, and so we got null rods, we got crop rotation, obviously for being able to hunt down specific lands that you need when you need them. Fastbond obviously is the core engine of the deck. Then you've got some copies of Life from the Loam in there, which really makes a lot of sense for a land-centric deck to be able to generate card advantage with. And then, of course, you've only got 2 pieces of actual power in regards to artifact mana, Black Lotus and Mox Emerald. But then you've got Mox Diamonds in there as well,
right.
which might as well be end up close to prices of power at some point.
Yeah. Right.
So, but yeah. So and obviously, for our people watching at home, this is not by any means a cheap deck. If you were to go out and acquire all these cards, this deck is running, 4 copies of Bazaar of Baghdad, 4 copies of Mistress Workshop. Both of those lands alone are, $13, $14, $1,500 a pop, close to $2,000 in case of workshops, I think now, close. So that alone, plus the 2 pieces of power, plus also the fact that there are not just 1 but 2 Tabernacle at Pendrell Vale on the list.
That's the one that really breaks the camel's back for a lot of people. I was like, well, you don't have to play 2 Tabernacles. You could play 1. They're like, this is not making a difference for me.
and the funny thing about this deck is stunningly cheap on Magic Online.
Oh, yeah.
All these cards just cost nothing on Magic Online. I think probably the most expensive card ends up being Wastelands. And weird stuff like Crucible Worlds is not like super expensive, but is still like more than like a couple tickets. Yeah, and I think Force of Vigor is more than a couple tickets right now, but but like the base lands, like the stuff like Mistress Workshop and Bazaar of Baghdad are only like 3 or 4 tickets a piece tops.
Right. I mean, they're as cheap as they would be in paper if there were no reserve.
Right. Yeah.
It's just a really nice thing in Magic Online that for a relatively small investment in terms of Magic as a hobby, you can get pretty much every vintage deck and play it whenever you want.
Yeah.
And people get down on Magic Online all the time, but I'm so grateful that it's available to me and that I can have a long day at work and then 10 p.m. I haven't rested for a moment, and I'm like, you know what? Vintage. Right now.
Yeah, that's the best part. Oh yeah. Oh, I know. Yeah, you can sit down for a second. And you're like, oh man, I can just throw some vintage down. And even if you're playing a league or if you're playing even just in like their practice room, you can generally find matches like almost any time of the day. I found like even like during the middle of the day, like all of a sudden there's a match. That'll come up, and I'm like, oh, cool. So, play for a little bit, but. All right, so Greg, talk to me a little bit about the evolution of the sideboard of this deck. I know that when you first started playing this deck, you had a little bit of a different sideboard than what we're seeing now. So what you had before is you had an Oath of Druids plan in the sideboard, and of course now you're kind of on this plan with Elvish Reclaimer and Sanctum Prelate. So let's kind of like walk through exactly how we kind of got to that point.
Right. So I want to start off by reiterating one of the points we discussed earlier, which is that this deck has a very powerful game one.
Right.
It can attack the opponent from so many angles. It's got two of the most powerful lands in the game, Mishra's Workshop and Bazaar of Baghdad, and
Right.
it can really just surprise people and come at you fast. But it relies on artifacts and graveyards. And these are the two things that vintage players love to hate.
Right.
So once you go on from game one, you go into a game two where the opponent's like, all right, I see what you did there. I'm going to bring in my entire sideboard again.
Right.
Everybody's got those, 5 to 8 pieces of dredge hate, unless you're Brian Kelly and you have 15 in the sideboard and 15 in the main deck, or whatever he likes to do to torture us necromancers. He's always got us on lockdown. So the people are bringing in their graveyard hate, and that hits the deck in two ways. So obviously it prevents the recursion engine with Crucible of Worlds.
Right.
But it also hits the mana hard, because Riftstone Portal is in some ways the glue that holds the deck together.
Right.
So when you're playing cards like Mishra's Workshop and Bazaar of Baghdad and Glacial Chasm and Tabernacle of Pendra Vale, they don't tap for mana unless you've got a Riftstone Portal in the graveyard that turns all of your lands functionally into a Savannah. And that's why cards like Mox Diamond are so important. That's why I have Mox Diamond and not Mox Pearl, because even if I'm playing a Null Rod and turning off my Moxen, I get a Riftstone Portal in the graveyard, and I can fix my mana. So it hits the graveyard hate, hits the combo portion, and just the way that the deck can just, on a turn-to-turn basis, play out its threats or not. You just need that mana. You need your Workshop to be tapping for 3 colorless or a green or white.
Right.
It's important. Otherwise, you get locked out from under your sphere. Can't. You play Sphere of Resistance, and then you can never cast your Crop Rotation or your Fast Bond. It's a tragic story, at least for me. Maybe not for my opponents. But of course, then, Ravager Shops has been one of the best decks in the last few years. And so people have their menagerie of artifact hate. People are bringing in Ancient Grudge, Hurkyl's Recall, even cards like Assassin's Trophy or Abrupt Decay are coming in from board from bug decks. Shattering Spree, which gives me both a heartburn and a nightmare because it just blows up your entire world. So for as powerful as you are in game one, you start looking a little bit more like a glass cannon in game two.
Right.
So you need a way of handling or circumventing those pieces of hate that people are bringing in against you. And my initial idea of Oath of Druids was just that.
Right.
Obviously, if your opponent very smugly lays out a turn 0 Leyline of the Void and thinks, I've got them, they can't do anything, you go Orchard, Mox, Oath of Druids, go.
Right.
And that doesn't stop a Grizzlebrand. So there's some surprise factor there too. You're circumventing graveyard hate, and then you're surprising people by just going Grizzlebrand.
Yeah, that's pretty strong all in its own right.
Yeah, I mean, I'll never forget that I brought the plan in on my. So it was my game one, and on the first turn, I was able to loop together 2 Glacial Chasms, Riftstone Portal in the graveyard. So tap the Glacial Chasm for a green, play another Glacial Chasm, sacrifice it, tap that one for a green, and I had the Crucible of Worlds in play, so I could just generate the infinite mana that way. And I generated all of the mana necessary to remove every single ice counter from Dark Depths.
Wow.
It took like 15 minutes, but I had a turn 1 2020, and my opponent conceded after seeing what was happening.
That's great.
And then in game 2, I led with something like Black Lotus, Null Rod, Orchard, Oath, go. And they just, how could you see that coming?
Right.
They did not bring in their Oath of Druids hate, because what workshop deck plays Oath of Druids?
Right. Yeah.
So, but the other reason that I wanted the Oath of Druids was because it's a pseudo tutor for Life from the Loam. So let's say that you're going into a game 3 and opponent is bringing in their Containment Priests or Grafdigger's Cages, and they play them out, and your Oath of Druids is just not going to get your Grizzlebrand to play.
Right.
Well, it's still milling Life from the Loam. So maybe my Grizzlebrand sits on top of my library with occasion play, but Oath of Druids has put perhaps Life from the Loam and Riftstone Portal and Thespian Stage and Dark Depths in the yard.
Right.
So I play the Life from the Loam and start putting those back in. So that was the idea. It circumvents the artifact and graveyard hate that people are bringing in, and it also has some natural synergy with the original game plan of getting a Thespian Stage and Dark Depths to summon Miss Lage from her Icy Lair. But over time, it felt like that wasn't the most reliable pathway to victory.
Right.
A lot of the wins felt like they were due to surprise. You get a lot of surprise wins when you play weird decks. I'm very familiar with playing bad decks but winning because no one expects nonsense. If they've seen it enough, though, like when the deck started becoming more widely played, the jig is up, and if your deck doesn't have any meat to it beyond surprise, then you're not going to consistently win matches of Magic.
Right.
Like when I go and sit down against a well-accomplished dredge player like Sullivan Brophy, I know that he's going to be putting some zombies in play. But it doesn't matter because he just is so skilled and the deck is so strong and he's bringing so much new innovation to the archetype.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter that I know. He's just going to win. So you need something that's better than surprise. And after the initial phase where I was using Oath, I wanted to start tuning the sideboard to have more natural synergy with what the deck was already doing, not end up with Grizzlebrand in your hand, actually tune the sideboard and the main deck to what's going on in the metagame. Start being a little less proactive and a little bit more reactive sideboard.
Right.
And so the second deck, the second list that I got a 5-0 with, and that I played in the Vintage Challenge with, it had 4 Null Rods, I believe, in the main deck, because there were a lot of paradoxical outcome decks online.
Yeah, at that point in time, there definitely were, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can put as many Sphere of Resistance on the table as you want, but they are going to Hurkyl's Recall you. They're going to get their islands into play, and you are going to die. They are going to outcome you to death.
Right.
It's unpleasant, at least for me. But at that point, so you prioritize the Null Rods, and I put in Veil of Summer as tech to handle mostly paradoxical outcome. So for anyone who's not familiar, it's 1 green mana, an instant that gives you and permanents you control hexproof from blue and black permanents.
Blue and black spells, yeah.
Blue, excuse me, that's a very important point.
Yeah.
Blue and black spells. So if they try to target you with Hurkyl's Recall, you play a Veil of Summer, and you become an illegal target.
Right, yeah.
So your Null Rod stays right where it is. And Veil of Summer is also a cantrip if the opponent has played a blue or black spell, so it replaces itself.
Yeah.
Fantastic card.
Yeah.
Also,
wildly fantastic card. It's seeing a lot of play everywhere, really.
Yeah, I've seen you play it in your elementals.
Yeah, it's certainly very good for winning counter magic wars.
Yeah,
Uh,
I love it. Love it for
yeah,
that reason.
yeah,
Right, because that's a good point. Someone tries to counter one of your spells. So in this deck, like a Crucible of Worlds, you can use Veil of Summer to make your spell an illegal target. It makes their Force of Will fizzles, and you draw a card.
yep,
And the effect lasts for the rest of the turn. So you can just do whatever you want if your opponent only has blue and black interaction.
right,
Um, the Veil is also really good at protecting your Martlage. So, or really anything that you have in play. So an opponent can't Chain of Vapor your Martlage anymore.
right.
Or they can't Assassin's Trophy one of your lands, or Abrupt Decay. It's an actual counter Abrupt Decay, which is uncounterable.
Yeah, it's wild how that works. But
yeah, I don't know what they were thinking when they printed that card, but I'm very, very glad that they did because it's amazing.
yeah, it's very, very interesting of an effect. So I know it's running around on standard too, quite a bit as well.
Yeah, isn't it like an $8 uncommon?
Yes, yes, it is.
I was like, oh, I better, I might be Veil of Summer at the Waterbury tournament. I'll pick up my foils. Nope, never mind.
Yeah, nope, really expensive.
Yep, not happening.
Yep,
Thanks,
yep,
F20.
yep.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so that you played Veil of Summer, you played Null Rods, and then kind of gradually just kind of shifted to what we see now.
Yeah, so as Outcome hit its peak, it was time for Jeskai Dreadhorde to shine, and that started becoming a much higher portion of the metagame.
Right.
And in my experience, well, I suppose it's common knowledge that Null Rod is not particularly good against the Xerox decks.
Yeah, definitely is not, no.
So the quad Null Rods in the main deck don't really become viable, and it's less important to protect them against Turko's Recall.
Right.
At the same time, the Jeskai decks are really threatening you with Swords to Plowshares. You can't just make a 20/20 and know it's going in.
Right.
When your opponent's on a blue-red Xerox, like a Delver deck, or a Rug Xerox, like Elementals, their only real interaction with Martlage is Strip Mine or Wasteland.
Right.
But not with the Jeskai decks. So the goal then is to prevent their hate or attack their engine, and Sanctum Prelate does that very well.
Right.
So Sanctum Prelate, 3 mana, 2/2. When it comes, it's a 1 white. Comes into play, you name a number. No one can play non-creature spells at that number.
Yeah.
So against Xerox, you name 1.
Yeah, and it shuts off pretty much everything.
Yep. No preordains, no lightning bolts, no Swords to Plowshares. There's some splash damage on you, of course. You can't play your fast bonds. Generally, I always sideboard out my crop rotations in that matchup.
Right.
That's one thing that Elvish Reclaimer is really good for. It's just, it plays the role of a crop rotation, but also it's a 1 mana 3/4 summon.
Yeah.
That card is nuts.
Sometimes it just attacks for 3 a couple times and gets there.
Yeah, I've been playing a version of this deck with a bunch of collector oofs and 4 main deck reclaimers, and sometimes you just grind them out with wastelands and strip mines with the elf, and then beat them down with a 3/4 and a 2/2. Very powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely get there. And so obviously, you've got cards like Cavernous Souls, like if you need to push through counter magic, you're naming human or you're naming elf, if you need to push through, a reclaimer or something like that. One thing I did notice, do you find funny about Sanctum Prelate, obviously, is that a lot of times people miss the fact that it says non-creature on it.
True.
And I've run into that a lot where people will not play creatures out. You may have a bug opponent who may not be playing out their Deathrite Shamans because they think they can't actually cast them.
Oh, that's my Christmas. Deathrite Shaman is.
So Yeah, so that's kind of interesting part of that card. It's kind of subtle mind game of that card.
Yep,
Um,
and the templating gets in people's way too, obviously, because people are used to Chalice of the Void,
right,
and when a shops deck plays Chalice of the Void on one, you still get to play your 1-drops. They just get countered.
right.
But that means you can get your Young Pyromancer or
Your delve spells.
your Delve spells or your Mentor tokens,
Right. Yeah.
or your what's that replicate artifact destruction?
Shattering Spree.
Shattering Spree.
Shattering
So the
Spree is
Chalice,
great against Chalice.
Yep. You're like, okay, you counter my 1, but I'm going to replicate it 4 times, and you have nothing left.
Right.
Isn't that nice?
Right.
But you can't do that
Yeah.
with Sanctum Prelate.
And then also, obviously, you've got that extra copy of Tabernacle hanging out there on the board. You got that extra copy of Bajuka Bog hanging out on the board, which makes perfect sense. Bajuka Bog for those dredge matchups.
Yeah.
And then Force of Vigor, which makes a lot of sense. You are playing a lot of green cards to be able to allow Force of Vigor to be good. Has that ever really been a problem though? Like, have you ever had any issues with like casting Force of Vigor?
I mean, it does happen. The deck is generally fine at casting it.
Okay.
And especially because if they don't have the right graveyard hate, or if they have it at the wrong time, you have the Wriststone Portal in your graveyard, you can cast it easily.
Oh yeah, that's true.
That definitely comes up. But Force of Vigor is just a nice all-purpose card.
Right.
Yeah, it's very strong.
All right, Greg. So now that we've gotten a chance to talk about the deck a little bit, let's talk about how this deck matches up against the rest of the format. So what are some of the best matchups that you find with this deck, and what are some of the worst matchups, and how do you kind of generally approach them, like from a sideboarding perspective?
Right. So the best matchups by far are the workshop decks.
Right.
So either both the Ravager Shops decks, and to a lesser extent those new Golos style stacks decks that are coming out.
Right.
Because they have main deck Crucibles and that sort of thing. They have more natural responses to your plan destruction. But definitely Shops overall, because they can't really interact with you.
Right.
So obviously the deck it operates its best when it's got all of its combo pieces together. They can't Force of Will any of those pieces. They can't use Phyrexian Revoker on any of the ways that you can find those pieces. Maybe they have a Sorcerer Spyglass, but it's not common.
Right.
But aside from taxing you a little bit, which doesn't matter generally too much because you've got Mishra's Workshop and Ancient Tomb.
Right.
That's their way of interacting with you. And you can dance around that in a lot of ways. And they are naturally susceptible to the combination of Null Rod and Tabernacle.
Yeah.
That's where a lot of these wins come from.
Right.
And even with their wastelands that they're using against you, you can use crop rotation in response.
Right. So
they waste you. Yeah. Say they waste your Tabernacle, and you crop rotate it and get your other Tabernacle. So that's one reason why there is an extra Tabernacle on the board. So one is for the redundancy of the effect without any recursion.
Right.
The other is sometimes you just want to have one of your hate pieces in hand and use your crop rotation to do something else, like get a wasteland for their Ancient Tomb, so that Tabernacle blows up.
Right.
So that's where a lot of the wins against Workshop come from. Tabernacle, blowing up their lands, Null Rod. It's very effective. Anytime I play against a Workshop player, I'm pretty happy about it.
Right.
Eldrazi is also a solid matchup. Not as good because they have things that can actually interact with you better, like Thought-Knot Seer, taking away your Crucible. But in the end, if they don't get you fast, you can do the same thing of Null Rod, Tabernacle, use Glacial Chasm as a pseudo ensnaring bridge.
Yeah.
right before you sacrifice it, copy it with Thespian Stage so you can keep the party going.
Right.
There's just a lot of ways you can handle them. In terms of sideboarding for those matchups, really, it's just take out the things that would hold you back.
Right.
Take out the spheres. I often keep one Trinisphere in, just because when I'm going off, I want to be able to take a Trinisphere from the graveyard, put it into play. I've blown up all their lands and everything. I just don't want them to go play anything that could disrupt me after I've gone off. So
Right.
I'll often keep in one Trinisphere, and obviously as many null rods as I can are in the deck because
Right.
of the interaction with Tabernacle. Sometimes, and I'm not sure if this is right because I don't play against Eldrazi that often, I'll keep in Sphere of Resistances on the play, only the play. Just because the top end of their deck is the most threatening.
Right.
And I've got so many wastelands and ways to find it that if I can just keep that Thought-Knot Seer or that Reality Smasher off the table, I'm generally going to be okay.
Right.
But again, that's only, you never want to, let them go Ancient Tomb, Mana Crypt, Thought-Knot Seer, go, and you're just like, Sphere of Resistance. It's just not going to get you there.
Yeah. Well, and of course, they also occasionally have stuff like Caracas, too, that can be problematic, but...
Yeah, Caracas is an issue. Yeah, so that's another way that they can handle your 2020.
Right.
And they have Displacer as well.
Right.
So it's a dicier matchup to be sure, but it's still very good because on average you're just going to be able to dance around them a little bit better.
Right.
And then Dredge, of course. Dredge is generally the best matchup, which is weird for a deck. I mean, it's got a solid game one against Dredge.
Yeah,
just
that's
because
usually kind of odd because Dredge usually is a pretty good game one deck.
Yeah, it is. But you've got the 5 waste effects.
Right.
You've got 4 ways to tutor for them. You've got a Tabernacle.
Right.
And you've got the main deck Bajuka Bog. And you've got ways to recur them. Like you can, and this comes up frequently. You just have to make sure you set it up right. Make sure to sacrifice your Bajuka Bog as soon as you can so that you can replay it with Crucible of Worlds.
Right.
So it's, when I'm playing a Glacial Chasm to stay alive, like that's another card that they struggle to interact with. You put in a Glacial Chasm, and unless they have Ashen Rider, they can't get rid of it.
Right.
A
lot of the newer Dredge decks are starting to play some tech like Strip Mine and Wasteland. And
yeah, I played against Steve Menendian for the first time on that list. I played against that list a couple of times now, but I played against him after he top 8'd the most recent playoffs with it. And I was playing a version that was way better against Dredge than this one is now. So This is one with 4 main deck Elvish Reclaimers, 3 crop rotations. I'm just gonna get my hate.
Yeah.
And then there's also a bunch of other stuff like Containment Priest that come in from the board. But it's a different list. But anyway, even when the odds were so heavily stacked against him, he was still able to keep a window open through his game 2.
Mm-hmm.
He just kept putting in a couple of creatures, holding up a wasteland. Like he saw 2 wastes and a strip, I want to say, in that game. And he just kept me on my toes the whole time. So if I made one misstep, then he was going to come in.
Right.
So I was really impressed. That was very, very nicely constructed deck in his part.
Nice. So what are some of the bad matchups then?
So let's start with the worst. Bug is the worst.
Yeah.
Is by far the worst matchup.
That sounds about right.
They just have so many natural ways. Main deck. I want to say for as good as I. Well, maybe not this bad. I was going to say as good as this deck is against Dredge, Bug is against these Workshop Fastbond decks.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's quite that bad, but for Deathrite Shamans, there's no answer to that.
Right.
So they're automatically putting pressure in.
They also
Deathrite
have
Shaman,
Leovold and
Right.
You know,
Leovold stops your combo.
yeah, unless you have like a dredge effect like Life Malone, and then. But even then, you have to dredge all those draws in order to be able to do it. So.
Right.
So that's
It's
difficult.
tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, if you do claw your way back in against the Leovold, you're tired and you've been fighting hard, and then you start trying to wasteland them to get rid of their stuff, and then they just start drawing cards because of his other dumb ability.
Yep. And it's not just that. They also have the Narset as well to add on top of that as a separate effect that does the exact same thing pretty much. So that doesn't help either. And so yeah, I could definitely see where that is definitely a tough matchup.
Yeah. An Assassin's Trophy. So when you start going for the stage depths combo, so you tap your Thespian stage to copy your Dark Depths, legend rules apply, you keep the stage, which has no counters on it, and then they target your land, your Thespian stage copy, with Assassin's Trophy, and you don't get your 20/20, and at best, you get the one basic deck.
Right.
And then Abrupt Decay for your other hate. It's rough. That's why. So the Veil of Summer sideboard tech was, PO was big.
Right.
Paradoxical Outcome was big, and there was a lot more bug then too. And that's what the Veil was also for.
Right.
So yeah, the bug is tough. You just need to try to, at least in my experience, race out the 20/20 as fast as you can. That's why in that sideboard plan with Veil of Summer, I had Dark Depths number 4. Because I just needed, and I keep in my crop rotations. I hate when they get countered.
Yeah.
And, it wasn't great. Still not a great matchup.
Right.
But it's winnable.
And then, I know you've expressed before that Jeskai can be a little bit difficult based on, their draws and that sort of thing, and what they have access to as far as hate.
Yeah, in game 1, it's way better in game 1.
Right.
Because they haven't brought in their graveyard, and especially their artifact hate.
Right.
In game 1, they also only generally have 1 or 2 sword plowshares. So there are a lot of games against Xerox where you feel like, here's a 20/20. Did you get your swords? No? Okay.
Right.
But then the game 2 gets way harder. But Sanctum Prelate changes everything. And that was another suggestion by Matt Murray. So Brian Kelly has been playing a lot, been a big advocate of Sanctum Prelate. He calls his deck Esper Chalices, or Esper BPK on MTG Goldfish.
Right.
And he'd been using that as one way to control the Xerox matchup, among other things. Justin Gennari, another great streamer, I am actually level 1. And, he was playing around with that too, and Matt suggested, and he streamed this, trying the Sanctum Prelate in more. And as soon as I got my first Sanctum Prelate in again, I knew it was a real deal, because I named 1, and we just kept playing draw go for like 8 turns until I'm just like, here's a 20/20, and they're like, I can't swords it.
Right.
And that's one reason why the caverns are there. You name human,
right,
or cleric if you want to be fancy about it, and you put that in. But I want to use that. I've been testing out a version of this deck that doesn't play workshops. It only plays like Ramunap excavators, Ancient Tombs, Thalia, the 2-mana Thalia instead of Seer, and then it's got the 4 full Sanctum Prelates and 4 full Caverns coming in. That deck does not really lose rocks.
Nice.
You really can make this style of list work. It's also way better against Bug, because you can name 2 for Abrupt Decay and for Assassin's. But yeah, that's a segue.
So, have you played against have you tried it? Had got a chance to play against these new Oath decks at all? That are playing obviously their new Elk Overlord Oko.
Yeah, Oko is a heck of a card. I've played a little bit against that. Conceptually, I don't see it as being too much different, at least from this deck's perspective, than the previous iterations of Oath.
Right.
Because those decks were generally playing Dak Faden, which is just as bad,
Right.
or maybe even worse for you to handle.
Right.
So generally, Oath, I would say the Oath is about 50.
Right.
You've got enough power that you can push through in game one, and they struggle to handle a 2020 once it hits the board.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously Oko can hit RFH, but you're not generally creating your 2020 on you, creating it on their turn. So the Oko can't really do that. Again, it gets harder in the post-board game because they're bringing in more artifact hits.
Right.
It's still okay. Like it's not unwinnable. It's just harder. You can do. There are a lot of little interactions too that you can use. So I have copied many Forbidden Orchards with Thespian Stage.
Mm-hmm.
And you can, you copy their stage, give them creatures, wasteland their Forbidden Orchard.
Right.
And so you maintain the creature advantage. And I've won a lot of games by just holding them at bay like that.
Right.
And you can even, and little things like this come up fairly often. You go get your own tabernacle, sack all of the creatures they've given you, and then either wasteland it or sack it with a glacial chasm. So you just do whatever you can to keep them with a higher creature count.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. I know that like sideboard wise, like they get access to some cards like Blazing Archon, which can probably be pretty obnoxious if they manage to get one of those into play. You
have to chain together a bunch of like glacial chasms or hold up the Thespian Stage Dark Depths combo because they won't attack into it.
Right.
And you can accumulate redundant answers. So I mean, I did win a game against double Blazing Archon recently because I Bojuka bogged their the Gaia's Blessing, so they couldn't shuffle anything back in, and I just had enough stages and depths in play that they could never get through because all they had were the two Blazing Archons.
Right.
So you can do it, but again, the sideboard, at least the variants of this deck I've been playing, have been changing a lot. I've been running Containment Priests recently, more Containment Priests and more Prelates and more Cavernous Souls. It's really nice that Containment Priest and Sanctum Prelate are both clerics.
Right.
So you can name two against Oath, turn off their Abrades and their Oaths, and play Containment Priest. And they're both encounterable. So that's another way of attacking it that's effective.
All right. All right, Greg. So now that we've got a chance to talk about the deck a little bit, talk about how it works, let's talk about Eternal Weekend. Obviously, by the time this episode is going to come out, Eternal Weekend will have come and passed. And obviously, one of the things that we like to talk about Eternal Weekend in this regards to this deck is obviously the expense of this deck. Obviously, it's not a cheap deck. There's a lot of cards to it. So that in itself is probably going to affect how many people actually show up at Eternal Weekend with this deck. So what do you think about that? Do you think there's going to be that many Ziasbond players at Eternal Weekend?
So, I mean, there's a couple of knocks against it. Obviously, the expense. So I know of two people who are considering it.
Right.
I think they were on board, but maybe they've gotten some feet about it, which I understand. It's a tougher deck to play than it looks, and there's not a lot of history behind it, and a lot of people don't really have a lot of experience with it either.
Right.
Like you want to bring, when you're going to Eternal Weekend, you often want to bring your right arm.
Right.
You just know it so well.
Right. It's a tough room too. Yeah.
It's a tough room. Yeah.
So.
But the expense, I don't think there's going to be more than 10.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was sitting as well. That probably be more than 10. Now, I do believe, I do think that if there's somebody that's really put in the work with the deck, really spent the time with it, I do think that at least one of those people will end up in the top 8, though. It
Oh, man,
does
it's
have the
tough.
potential to do so.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, both people, without revealing any identities, who I know are considering it, they're very gifted players. So it's
Right,
not out of the realm of possibility. It's
right.
just I would be less confident about seeing that deck in the top 8 than just guys Xerox.
I actually don't think there's going to be any Xerox at all in the top 8.
No, not at
No,
all.
no. I think there's going to be 0 Xerox in the top 8.
Zero Xerox, no matter the color.
Yeah, I think I don't
Interesting.
think there's going to be any Dreadhorde Arcanist in that top 8 at all. The deck has declined so hard on Magic Online, and the people that are really following that are just really knowing how to beat the deck. And I think a lot of
Right.
those vintage players that are out there that are like guys like Rich Shea, guys like Montolio, those kind of guys. Those guys are playing a lot more Magic Online, and they are
Yeah,
more
yeah.
accustomed to following the metagame. Uh,
Oh, for sure.
and so I think that they're going to be ready for those Xerox piles. I feel like that one of the big defining parts of this top 8, most assuredly, is going to be Ravager shops. I think there's going to be a lot of Ravager shops in the top 8.
Yeah, I think so too, especially because of the people who choose to play it. Like
Right,
Rich and Andy,
right,
they're going to do well.
right.
They're just going to do well.
Guys like Nomtron.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
pulling for Nom. I hope I get to come back at this and watch this and go, hey, Nom won.
Yeah, right.
Because I know Nom personally, and he's a really nice
Mhm.
guy. I went to start CityCon with him this past year, and just a really, really great guy. So I hope he does very well. But yeah, I mean, Ravager Shops is like a real big high on my list there, and it's mostly because that deck's seen a huge amount of resurgence.
Yeah, it
Even in a
has.
format where like everybody was playing Force of Vigor and blah blah blah, and there was all this talk about how the archetype was practically dead, and then they got Stone Coil Serpent,
Yeah,
and
Snack is good.
so yeah, that card is really really amazing. So I have a feeling
Yeah,
that's gonna put some people up there. I also kind of feel like this new Oath builds. There will be at
yeah.
least one or two of those new Oath builds up there. Maybe I could see maybe one Xerox. I might see maybe one Xerox, but it's really pushing it.
Yeah.
Because of how people have kind of adapted to the deck. I'm kind of hoping that there is at least one survival player up there.
Yeah,
That's
that'd be
a
nice to see.
that's another deck that's really hard for people to piece together because
Yeah.
of the card availability. Like, yeah, you need power, but and you also need bazaars. But then you also need survivals, which aren't cheap. I know, obviously not as expensive as power and bazaars, but those things are like $90 a pop.
It adds
So
up. It adds
yeah,
up. I
so
mean, when you're playing four of them.
yeah, yeah. So and plus all like the creatures and stuff that deck plays, and all the various metagaming, because that deck
Right.
is very much a metagame toolbox
It is.
deck, and so yeah, some games you win just on the back of I made a couple Vengevines and a hollow ones, really quickly, but a lot of those deck games are really grindy and really rely on the decks and the player's ability to be able to like metagame the field a little bit. So, but I feel like it'll do well. There's a couple other decks like I kind of maybe expect a good dredge player to maybe show up.
Oh, wouldn't
Uh,
surprise me one bit.
no, like maybe I think Sullivan is definitely going.
Yeah, I
So
believe he's going.
yeah, because I know he was at a couple of the Eternal Weekend trials. Did
Oh,
a couple
okay.
of those, so I know that he may have some buys too. So,
Oh,
so
that
I,
helps so much.
yeah. So
Wow. I
I know
mean,
he's probably going. So I would not be surprised to see a good dredge player up there. And then I know a couple people are like teetering. I know at least one people that have teetered back and forth on maybe trying out that other fast bond deck that's popped up.
the Eric's Crab Shack.
Yeah, the Hedron Crab deck, and I know that a
Yeah.
couple of people have talked about playing that, and I would laugh if that made it into the top 8 as well. But
I hope it does. I hope we see. if it's not the namesake, then I at least want that in there.
Yeah, I don't know if Eric is actually going to Eternal Weekend. I'm not sure. I'd have to ask him. So I actually know him. So
yeah, that was a funny story.
Yeah, so for those that aren't aware, the Hedron Crab deck is a Fastbond deck that plays Hedron Crab, which is a mills when it landfall, and it wins with either that or it wins with Retreat to Hagro, which is an enchantment that drains them every time you hit a land at a play, and it plays all this stuff like Simic Rift Chamber and like the Ravnica Bounce lands and Obero Palace in the Clouds from the Kamigawa block, where you can pay a generic and you can bounce it back to your hand. And it's a really wild deck, but it was actually created by Eric Freytag, who was the guy that started and ran Puka Trade. So that's kind of funny because myself, I actually used to write for Puka Trade. And I didn't even know that was him until he was on Leaving a Legacy. And they were talking to him about that deck, so it's interesting. So that could be a deck I could see up there, but I definitely feel like the big winner of the weekend is probably going to be Ravager Shops.
Yeah, I think so too.
It's a very popular deck in paper. There's going to be a lot of people there playing it because there's a lot of very big name players that like to play it.
Right.
So,
this year, just to bring up one last point, I think it's going to be really interesting how the paper metagame of champs compares to what's been going on online.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because there's always some discrepancy between the online players who are more sensitive to metagame variations. They have their finger on the pulse of the format more.
Right.
And you have to adapt fast online.
Right.
Because your tech can be invalidated so fast. It's a very brutal Darwinist landscape.
Right.
But then, in paper, a lot of people are just going to play their pet deck.
Right.
Or they don't really play online as much, so they made their deck decision weeks ago.
Right.
And I think this year is going to be especially interesting. The meta game has shifted so wildly in the past month leading up to champs. I don't know if we've ever seen that kind of rapid variability.
Absolutely not. No. And then you also have to factor in too that there's going to be the people that are showing up there to play, the unpowered decks because Eternal Weekend Champs has the whole budget prize thing. So there's going to be a good chunk of people that are playing unpowered decks, to try and get that prize. Maybe
like
not
Blood Moon.
I mean that's what did it last year was and I think they actually placed like 36th or something. So
that's pretty good.
They did really well for being an unpowered Blood Moon deck. But I mean it's Blood Moon. I mean you're gonna play a turn 1 Blood Moon or turn 1 Magus of the Moon, and usually that's pretty good against a lot of this format. Even the decks that are playing a lot of artifact mana and stuff like that may not be good against PO, but I don't know. That's the other thing I've considered too. I consider that there might be like one good PO player up there. In the top 8.
It's gonna be Justin Gennaro.
Yeah, and it's gonna be on his rug. Oko.
Yeah, I hate playing against that deck, but I want him up there. I want him to take it down with Managor Hydra.
That'd be pretty hilarious, indeed. Yeah. So it's going to be an interesting event. I hope we can come back to this and look at this and go, yeah, we were right, or we got some stuff wrong. But I'm excited for it. I'm excited to see the coverage, especially since Mike Noble's going to be on coverage, and Mark Hornung and
they're both great.
Both great. I don't know if Andy's going to be able to do covers this year. I think it sounds like he's probably not going to. But
that's too bad.
Yeah, hopefully he does.
No, he might be playing.
I think he actually might be playing.
Yeah.
So at this point, so that'll be fun to see Andy if he gets to show up at all or something like that. But I got a lot of my crew from Team Sirius. They're going. A fair number of those guys are going up for it, already kind of on their way as of this recording. So
awesome.
So it should be an interesting weekend. So. right, so Greg, so we talked a little bit about Magic, and we've talked a little bit about this deck. Is there anything else that you do that you kind of enjoy? Like, do you play any other kind of games? Do you play any other Magic formats even? Do you ever dabble in anything like, standard or modern or even like old school or anything like that?
Yeah, so let me preface this by saying that I'm getting my PhD right now.
Nice,
And that
congratulations.
does, thank you. Congratulations is a word for it. I'm in my 5th year, and I'm tired of not having weekends. I didn't really conceptualize how much work it was going to be. So all of a sudden, like I had a 6-month stretch where I took 3 total days off.
Wow.
But we don't need to dwell on the misery that getting a PhD is.
Right.
But there's one stereotype of people who get a PhD, and that is they tend to get fixate or maybe obsess on a couple of things.
Right.
And so in my case, in Magic, that's vintage. And then within the context of vintage, it's how do I play Mishra's Workshop and Bazaar of Baghdad in the same deck?
Right.
In a few different ways. So I don't actually play any other format right now. I played a few matches of Legacy. Like literally, I think it was like 5 a couple of years ago. And I got a bunch of old school cards right before those crazy spikes happened. So I managed to get some of my favorites. Like one of my favorite cards is Charizard. Favorite, at least in theory. I love the art, and I just always wanted to play that card. So I got a playset of Charizard deck, and I got all of the other cards, so I can build most of the things in the format. I've never played a single. So maybe one day, but right now I am just a vintage junkie. The only other game I really play, and not a whole lot recently, is StarCraft.
Okay.
I do love some StarCraft.
Yeah, StarCraft's pretty cool. So, yeah, I mean, you shouldn't have to worry too much about playing standard right now, anyways. It's kind of terrible.
Yeah, I just can't keep up. I just need some consistency in Magic.
Yeah.
Everything else is like crazy, and life is permanent and all of that stuff. Let's just have a little bit of permanent. I just need my card pool to stay relatively consistent.
That's been pretty hard this year. So
it really is. It really has been hard.
All right. So basically, what we're gonna do now is Greg and I are gonna switch over to Magic Online, and we're gonna play some games with the Ziasbond deck. Kind of show it off a little bit. Just a game or so should be good, unless it goes like super quick, and then we'll play another game. But I think just a single game should be pretty fine. But then, yeah, so we're going to switch over here and do that here in a little bit. And so we'll be back in just a short moment with those games. All right, so now we're going to check out some games on Magic Online versus Ziasbond. So Greg is here with me, and we're going to talk about the deck and talk about how kind of things play out with the deck. And so I am playing the Rug Elementals list that I've been playing for a while now. It's kind of been a thing that I've been really enjoying doing. So we're going to do that. So I'm on the play here, which is pretty good in Vintage, I hear.
Yeah, some might disagree.
No.
But they also don't win games of Vintage.
No, I think it's pretty good. This hand that I have seems reasonable. Like it seems okay from a standpoint of having at least some possible interaction, maybe. Like I try to tend to look for hands that have some interaction. So I don't know about you. I know you kind of tend to look for, hands that kind of have, at least, some plays, something to do. I know you mentioned
Yeah.
on Twitter that you don't excessively mull to like fast bond because, you can keep bizarre hands and usually get there.
Right. Yeah. I'm just looking for a starting hand that can either do something so broken on the first turn that it just forces the opponent to have an answer,
Right.
or have some way of consistently generating card advantage across a couple of turn window. So maybe a couple of spheres and some wastelands, or recurring loam, or using like a bizarre loam draw engine.
Right.
You need to be able to make an impact that will last a couple of turns. You need to keep doing things. So if your hand is just, workshop, sphere of resistance, wasteland, and then nothing else that will keep the pressure on, it's not going to do it for you. You need
Right.
to imagine where you're going to be in 3 turns. And is your hand likely to be doing something relevant? So I'm looking at a definite mulligan stuck on Wasteland, Glacial Chasm, 2 Dark Depths, a Fast Bond, and 2 Crucible of Worlds.
Ooh.
And I don't want to die, so I will mulligan.
Right.
And this is also looking like a mulligan.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's just got a bunch of Fast Bonds and a Sphere and 2 lands that don't cast anything.
I mean,
This...
The nice thing about this deck is that, London Mulligan kind of helps out a little bit.
Yeah,
sure.
It does.
Yeah.
So the London Mulligan really favors, or it really helps you put together pairings of strong cards.
Right.
So this deck profits from that.
Right. A lot, yeah. Whereas the deck like I'm playing like really doesn't really, take advantage of that too well, because I tend to mulligan, but I don't tend to mulligan as aggressively with this deck.
Right. You've got a flatter power curve than a deck like Paradoxical Outcome.
Right. Yeah.
Where their 2-card pairing is Tinker Lotus, and yours is Force Blue card.
Right. And like a cantrip. As
Right.
long as I've got some lands, a cantrip, and some interaction, like, I'm generally okay. So I will mulligan more on the draw, I've noticed, with this deck, and it's just generally because, like, if I open up on a hand that has just like cantrips and some like a bolt or something like that, I'm gonna mulligan that away really quickly because it's not doing anything on the draw.
Right.
Like it's real bad. So does that hand look better?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
And I can tell you what it is later.
All right.
So let me put these back. Just trying to decide which 2 are going to go on the bottom.
That's always the fun part about the London Mulligan, at least. That makes it a little bit interesting.
It does. It is skill testing. I'm going to put these 2 on the bottom.
All right. Well, I'm going to get to see your hand at least anyways.
Oh, well, there you go.
So, yeah, get Taxian Probe. I'm going to see the hand. So, Fast Bomb, Black Lotus, Crucible of Worlds, Mishra's Workshop, Sphere Resistance. Ooh. That is a scary looking hand.
Yeah, it is regrettably only a 5-card hand.
Yeah, but I don't know if I can... Ugh. The problem is I don't know if I can stop enough. Like, there's interaction, but I don't think I can stop everything.
So for the folks at home, I put back a Mishra's Workshop and a Sajiri Step.
Okay, and that makes a lot of sense.
I prioritize keeping the green, of course.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So
I will lead on a Sphere of Resistance.
Yeah, and that has to be force of willed, unfortunately. Like, I have no way of interacting beyond that to be able to, but then I have no other interaction here.
Well, then that's good for me because I drew well. Yeah, at least reasonably well.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh,
you have 6 through that?
I did have 6 through that.
Do you have a basic in that deck?
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
Okay,
I should have fetched.
I won't I won't waste your. I'll keep one of your lands alive, just in spirit.
Yeah. Yeah, I do have at least one basic.
Okay.
Actually two, I think. So that helps a lot.
So what I will do though is I will still waste your land.
There we go. I don't know.
Yeah, you just don't want them sitting up there with a bunch of untapped fetch lands. So I usually just try to make them get their land. It also has the added benefit of making them thin their deck. Okay, so you have the basic mountain as well.
Yeah.
And I'm going to think about whether or not I will play my last card here. I don't know if there's any benefits. No, I'll hold it for now.
Okay. I'm gonna try and put a little pressure on here and just bolt you.
That's very rude.
So, it seems correct. I'm not having a lot else to do with this mana, but I did draw this. So
that's pretty good. Yeah.
This young pyromancer out, and then bolt you with
Yeah.
the additional mana.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna play this land. I have a volcanic island stuck in my hand, and we're just not gonna bother to play it.
If you want to play it, I can pretend that it's an island.
Nah,
just
that's
to
fine.
compensate.
Nah, that's fine. No, I'm gonna play the smart route and just not play it yet, and especially since it will leave me with no cards in hand, and
right.
Yeah, like if I'm gonna play a duel or something like that onto a wasteland, I'm gonna play it on
right.
a turn. I'm gonna actually use it.
All right, so now I am going to do what I wasn't doing before.
But basically, I just have to hope you don't find a glacial chasm or something like that, and hope that the extra damage.
That is exactly what I did.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Great. Oh. So then I need to find a strip mine for a good turn. But I could just be dead.
So I'm gonna do a little trick here. A lot of people aren't actually. I'm gonna do this technically correctly.
Okay.
I'm gonna tap the stage for a colorless. So I'm just gonna generate some extra mana.
Oh yeah. Let me just yield here because I don't have any responses.
So you can see this is demonstrating how the deck can produce infinite mana.
Right. Yeah, this is good for people to see. Yeah, you can definitely see that. Yeah, you can generate a ton of mana really quickly.
So the reason I did that with the mountain is because I know that you're only on a strip mine,
right?
But opponents can't actually wasteland if that's being staged that's copied a basic land.
Yeah, yeah, because that's a basic land at that point.
Yeah. So I'm not going to pay for this because I can just replay it.
Right.
Still pinched on green mana, of course, but no, I didn't mean to do that. But we're still going to...
Yep.
Not actually going to cast an artifact. I always do that in case I mindlessly don't tap for mana when it actually matters.
Yeah, it makes sense. Okay, well, I'm just going to pass turn then.
But this is a very good advertisement for how effective Glacial Chasm can be. It's not just an enabler. It can really do a good job at just holding off an opponent for a long time.
Yeah. And basically, I just have to hope to draw my strip mine for a good turn. And some artifact mana.
Yeah, you really need to go off.
Which is funny because I can do that. It's just, Okay. So I'm gonna play my Volk out.
Okay.
Because I got a Brainstorm.
Brainstorm is not a bad magic card.
No.
In fact, it's a restricted magic card.
It absolutely is.
I will allow it to resolve.
Okay. This is an interesting conundrum. Alright, so yeah. So now we have an interesting conundrum of I drew a card that's very interesting against Wasteland. So.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Oh, that's weird, but I accept, I guess.
What
so
happened?
I'm gonna stack this in a way just to emphasize that it can be done.
Okay.
So I'm gonna play my workshop first. Tap it for mana to be responsible in life because there's no mana burn anymore.
Right.
So you'll notice I can stack this and take damage, or stack it and not take damage. So I'm going to put the fast bond down first, and then the glacial chasm second, so that I'm not going to pay any life for my second land.
Right. Well, I mean, the static ability of glacial chasm prevents it, no matter what.
Right, but if you were, when it comes into play, if you stacked it the other way around, fast bond would deal damage. Oh, wait a minute.
No, it wouldn't matter.
No, I'm just being dumb.
It's okay. Yeah.
Sometimes you're dumb.
Yeah, it wouldn't matter. Yeah. Okay. Oh, double glacial chasm.
Yeah, I just figured it wasn't enough.
You need more. All right.
Yeah, I considered making more mana and copying a glacial chasm. It's like a time walk into threats out, but
right, so we're gonna
I don't want to leave myself that
island, and we're gonna play Red and 6.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, because that will get back a land in my graveyard, which will probably be this fetch land. That makes the most sense.
You can go get your island.
Yep. And it also kind of helps with the parity of, gets me above parity on the Wasteland effect.
Right.
Just slightly. So.
Okay. I keep accidentally going as my second main.
That's okay.
I didn't put up the same stops that I usually have.
That's fine.
I just re-downloaded. So. I don't want that to be a basic anymore. All right, so I'm going to do, just going to show how flexible Thespian is.
Okay.
I've been pinched on green mana for things in my hand.
So you can copy my tropical island.
Exactly, and I can do it a couple of times. And do a bunch of clicks in the process. This would take 2 seconds in person, but we are on a program that's not.
Yeah, ain't that the truth?
Sometimes I just mindlessly make way too much mana because I tune out.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense.
When this deck's going off, it also has a tendency of going to. A tropical and a tropical.
That's great.
Waste your thing.
Yep.
I yielded to that, and Moto knew that, but it's because there were 2 glacial chasms. It does weird things when there are 2 glacial chasms.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure.
I will pass.
So the awkward thing is that card I drew was not a great card. but we at least get to do the old run and 6 thing. We have another young pyro, but I'm guessing that green pinching mana cards means that you probably get something like crop rotation in hand.
No, who would ever think of such a thing?
So, probably just dead at this point.
Well, if you do not have a counter, then we can show people.
Definitely do not have a counter magic. So
I figured it was not.
Nope, I've got 3 lands in hand. So
I see. Okay. So we're gonna do the thing. We're gonna live the dream.
Just yield.
So this is infinite mana, infinite draw. So let's activate the Bazaar. So now, if I didn't go to Christmas Land and get both, like 2 more Bazaar Bagdads, I would waste my Bazaar.
Wild.
But I don't have to. I can just do this. Get the Riftstone Coral in the graveyard. So, look at that! Isn't that amazing? I can tap this for green. Make it even more broken. Try to expedite this process. So the loam is actually really important in this deck as a glacial chasm tutor or whatever land you're missing.
Right.
Because sometimes you're doing this and taking damage from the fast bond, but you don't. You only have so many activations to find the glacial chasm, and then you get low on life. You don't want to get lightning bolted or hit by a walking ballista. So you dredge with life from the loam to help mill.
Right. Oh, there's Dark Depths.
There's Dark Depths, but I have to.
Oh, strip mine.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I don't have to go out, with the whole thing, but eventually I'm just going to keep milling until I get Buried Ruin, replay all of my spheres. Eventually, I'll get the Tabernacle, blow up all your things. Yeah, see, there's the Buried Ruin, so all artifacts in my graveyard will come back in.
Right.
Yeah, so this is living the dream for the deck. And so you can see how a 5-card hand that looked like, wait a minute, does this even have a future? Drew a not very good card like Glacial Chasm, but it's fine because it's marginal utility in a variety of contexts.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty good against this just because, I'm playing a kind of a go-wide creature deck.
Right, yeah, and you didn't have any hate beyond the first
counterspell, yeah.
Yeah.
And I have to counter the sphere resistance, otherwise I'm dead in the water and everything else, so...
Right.
That's really awkward. So
yeah,
I suppose I could have let Sphere go maybe and use the paid the 1 to counter the Crucible.
Right.
But that's possibly a losing proposition. So
yeah, it depends what the rest of your land was.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ren.
That's great.
It's certainly not bad.
All right, yeah, I am definitely 100% dead. I'm gonna go ahead and concede.
All right.
Go to game 2.
All right.
Super dead. So for me, sideboarding against this is really interesting and difficult because does attack on a pretty interesting axis that I don't really have a lot for. But I did start playing some cards. I did start putting in some cards like Nature's Claim. To try and
that's good.
Yeah. The biggest things that for me is obviously I'm playing a lot of cards that do a lot of things towards blue decks. Because those are the decks that are kind of the top of the format still. So you want to be able to have some options against those. And of course, those cards are not very good against these kinds of decks. So, at all.
Yeah.
That's probably okay. Yeah, I was trying out some different things with this deck and trying to see if I could come up with something for this, especially for like maybe if I end up actually doing the challenge this weekend.
Right.
I might be able to cobble together at least a passable sideboard. So
you got to do the challenge. Think of all the value, all of the good players who won't be there.
Yeah. So yeah, what I usually cut, like I have like 2 Pyroblast main. I usually end up cutting for this kind of matchup. I have Veil Summer main. I usually cut that for this matchup. I usually cut the Master of Waves because it's not usually that good. And then like I usually cut like the main deck of Braid because it's not fantastic. Not compared to having Nature's Claim. So.
Yeah, Nature's Claim is definitely a better call on average.
Although
I'm just trying to.
I might bring the Abrade back in and drop a Bolt. That might be good. Bolts are weird in this deck. There isn't a ton of. The problem is there's not a ton of good cards. And that's the problem. Like, there's a lot of dead cards.
Yeah, it's actually weird siding against you as well, because usually when I'm playing against Zero, Delver or Jeskai, and they present different challenges. So this is more on the fly for me in this position.
I don't know if it took part of my sideboarding, but we'll see. Oh, it took that at least. Is this a keepable hand? I guess we'll have to try it on the play. So. I just have to hope for not turn 1 Seer resistance, I guess. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, and I will keep this hand. And I'll tell you what that one was later. Unless you...
No, I'm not going to see this one. Scalding Tarn pass. The most infamous play in all of Magic.
Infamous indeed.
Yeah, island fetch pass is usually pretty amusing out of these decks. Usually it means they have like Ancestral Recall.
Right. Oh yeah. Every time my opponent plays Scalding Tarn and passes, and then they just like hesitate for a second on my upkeep. I'm like, oh, it's Ancestral, and then it always is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's usually pretty good.
Savannah and pass.
All right. We're gonna go get a Folk and Preordain.
Seems reasonable. Preordain, $4 common or whatever it is.
Yeah, I know. I had to buy a set for my Pauper deck, and it was very interesting.
Yeah, in a moment of weakness, I played Outcome in an event, betraying my true spirit, and I had to buy Preordains at the local game store.
Yeah.
And he was like, those actually have value now, right? I was like, what? He's like, that'll be $4.
Yeah, they are certainly not cheap. Huh. Okay, so we're going to cast Run in 6.
Seems reasonable.
And get back a Scalding Tarn. This is a game where he's never going to cast Fast Bond, and he's just going to combo me naturally.
It's been known to happen.
Yep. Mox Emerald's fine. Yeah. See? All right. So I need to have an answer now.
And for the folks at home, I don't know if he's playing Oko or not. I know that his list generally only has one strip mine in it. And so I would be encouraged to make the 2020 now, but I don't want I don't want a Marat Elk. Elk Lodge? I don't know what it is.
Or a Nature's Claim the Moxim will make you do it now.
Yes, I don't like that, but I can't do anything about it. So I'm just going to.
Right.
And I'm fine if I would rather not take the risk.
Right.
Of making it now.
Right. So that's an interesting conundrum. What do we do with that? Well, first of all, let's play the Scalding Tarn out. Let's crack it. We'll get back the Scalding Tarn.
So you have lands for days.
Yeah. So we're gonna Merchant Scroll. Question becomes, what am I gonna Merchant Scroll for? What's gonna be the best use of my mana here?
Also, I don't know why I copied your tropical island. It should have been Savannah.
Yeah, it could have been.
I guess I just wanted a tropical island.
Yeah.
Pretty card. Look at that art. It's beautiful.
I think we have to take Gush for the next turn.
Interesting. So why Gush over Ancestral?
Because I want to try and draw some broken stuff next turn. Gush is really broken.
Gush is a good card.
Gush gets really broken when you combo it with. Okay, the Bazaar is good. It gets really broken when you combo it with Risen Reef. Because you can Gush and then and then play out a Risen Reef, and you're getting good value there.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
So we'll Gush. That's an interesting. So we can get another Volk. You can go Young Pyromancer into Risen Reef.
Not a Time Walk. Oh, it's Risen Reef.
Oh, man, a Time Walk would have been fantastic right now.
Time Walk would have been pretty good.
I have 8 cards in hand. We're just going to tick up around with no targets. And then.
So the reason why I played the Bazaar of Baghdad is that I had a Riftstone Portal in my hand. So the move here is I can pitch the lands that I've been binning.
Right.
And now I can tap the Dark Depths to make mana. So I wanted to conceal the fact that I could actually make 2020 in the situation.
I do have a Ravenous Trap.
But
you can still do it at instant speed, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this game is illustrating something that I don't usually do against decks, which is keep a hand that goes for a turn 2 or 3 2020.
Right.
I usually only ever go with that if I'm very confident an opponent doesn't have good answers for it.
Yeah.
And that's why when the Xerox deck started switching from Rug to Jeskai and Format Chair, that I went to the Sanctum Prelate.
Right.
Just for fun. Oh wait, that's right. You got rid of my.
I did. I'm just dead. I'm just dead to the Merit Lage.
I just wanted to play my.
I needed to find a Time Walk. Is really what I needed to find.
Yeah. You needed Time Walk or Strip Mine there.
Yeah. Well, so Time Walk. what I could have done there with Time Walk is cast Time Walk, and then I could have. I was ticking Ren up to 6 that turn.
Oh yeah,
and then I could have gotten Mystic Sanctuary at some point.
Yeah,
and gotten back because I had a preordain, so I could have gotten back Mystic Sanctuary, preordain, got back Time Walk, and then at that point I can alt Ren, and then it's just build your own Time Vault.
Yeah. No, that would have won immediately.
Yeah,
which is illustrating the risk of me keeping that hand. It
right.
still was borderline.
Yeah. I could have snowballed really quickly and gotten off. Do you want to play another real quick? I mean, we've got plenty of time.
Why not?
What's that?
Oh, plenty of time.
Yeah. All right.
Probably going to play a league match after this. Because why not?
There you go. Why?
I've been just constantly winning 4 straight and then losing one, or losing one and winning 4 straight. So I want to get that. I want to get that 5-0. I think I would have done it yesterday, but I'm an inattentive player, and I really I need to ask some advice about how to play, more mindfully.
Yeah, I'm a bad I'm a bad advice for that. I don't really I kind of jump the gun on sometimes a little bit. But especially like if there's like no this is not good. If there's no like incentive to, like, I tend to play pretty loosely.
Yeah, I hear that.
This is a weird hand, and if I was on the play, I would take this hand all day long. Like this is like a dream hand if I was on the play. Like and I was just gonna tell you because the people on streamer on the recording are gonna see it anyways. But it's got Island, Mountain, Young Pyromancer, Mox Ruby, Merchant Scroll, Black Lotus, Narset.
Oh man,
and I was like, if I was on the play, like this would be like the best hand.
Like, I'm borderline mulligan myself.
Like, because on the play, like it's just be like, Lotus, Narset, Ruby, whatever Narset finds,
right.
Ruby, Island, Pyromancer.
Yeah, on the play you just win.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that you can do with that. You play the Island you play Mox. You play Ruby Island just in case you hit your days or something like that. So
I'll go for this. This is super risky. I don't know if it's worth a keep, but we're gonna do it with science.
I'm definitely mulliganing, and this feels somewhat okay. There's a very clear bottom in this hand, and that was Pyroblast.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Mox Diamond, Riftstone Portal. Ooh.
And then proceed to my think phase.
The think phase. I'm gonna proceed to my tank phase. The only awkward thing is that you can have some really. I feel like that needs to happen. I have a mental step.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
This is the risk that I took, which may in the end not have been worth it. Actually, probably should have done that in the other order, but wait.
I guess we go.
And that's what I'm talking about with crop rotation. It's such a setback.
Right. Yeah. I mean, thankfully, there's only one now.
Yeah, but that one feels so much worse.
Yeah, because you know that they had it in their opening hand.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Trust me, I know, and I've cast ancestral recalls into mental missteps before, and it's like, cool. I don't have an answer to that. Yeah, Enlightened Tutor's good. Yeah.
And it has the Life from the Loam follow-up as something.
Yeah, I don't know that I have a real good answer to that. Thawing out dark depths one step at a time.
Sometimes you gotta go for it.
Well, that feels worse because you. I mean, you can just recast Loam without any targets, I guess, or you just get one back, I guess.
You take what value you can.
Yeah.
So this point, I'm loaming for Thespis Age.
Right.
That's my real out here.
Right. All right. So.
But I'm pretty sure I'm in a lot of trouble.
We're gonna start with Gush.
I'm very sure I'm in a lot of trouble.
I don't know that you are, but it's.
That's okay, but it's fine. I took a risk. I did it for the people watching at home.
Is that a good card at all? I don't know. I feel like I want to cast this instead of casting the other thing. I cast Chandra.
That makes sense. Because now you're putting a ton of pressure on me.
Acolyte of Flame. Make some dudes.
She does like flames.
She does indeed.
She's known for it.
Yep. I was trying to explain to somebody about this card the other day, and they didn't really understand why this card is so good.
She's got a lot of synergy with the deck.
Yeah, well, it's not just that. It's also like stupid stuff like, oh, I also can just like flashback Time Walk with her.
True.
That part's really dumb. Alright, so you got back a Glacial Chasm. I think that makes sense, just to kind of buy time.
I just need to live. Just let me live my life.
Yeah, you gotta live. And thaw Dark Depths. One at a time.
Gotta get the value where you might as well yield all. I can't do anything.
So we're gonna get Tropical Island. We're gonna cast Random 6.
It's pretty good.
We're gonna use this unknown mode of Chandra Acolyte of Flame to put a loyalty counter on each red planeswalker.
Oh, that's a great. I don't think I've ever seen that before.
Yeah, it doesn't get used much.
Wow.
But
okay.
it is a thing that does occur on occasion, is you can use it to thaw out, to raise Renin 6's loyalty.
That's a really cool move.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
So now in this position, I'm stuck with playing the Bazaar or the second Glacial Chasm. I don't really think the second Glacial Chasm is where I want to be right now. It's nice, like it prevents you from doing the crazy Time Walk shenanigans.
Right.
Because you can't get rid of 2 Glacial Chasms.
Right.
So is that?
Well, if I have a Ren, I could.
Oh yeah. Ren does it all.
Yeah.
But let's illustrate how Bazaar and Loam are really good friends together, because I just put 3 lands in my hand, and now I get to draw cards.
Right.
And I even get to Loam again. Loam. Did not find the good stuff.
No. Did find a Wasteland, though. That's pretty good. But the nice thing about Renin 6 is that it kind of insulates against when you can't Wasteland multiple times.
Right. It's not ideal. So I'll discard a Loam and a Workshop and another Depths, because I just need it.
Yep.
I did play land for the turn, okay.
Yeah, you did. You played the Bazaar.
Yeah. So I'll get back, doesn't matter. Waste, shops, and Depths as an insurance.
Alright.
Alrighty.
Now the fun part is your next turn is pretty good.
It's not bad, but this is also illustrating like I'm definitely behind. I don't think I'm going to win this game. Risky keep, and you had the counter, but I'm still not dead. No fast bond, no crucible.
Right.
There's still some longevity to the list.
Fetch.
Although you're going to ultimate that, yeah. At this
Yeah.
point, I'm probably done. So pretty good.
Loyalty counter on everything. Will plus no targets.
So you're going to be in ultimate soon, which is pretty good.
Yeah, I will be in alt range next turn.
Yeah, you're going to ult next turn, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I need to make, if I'm going to make a big play now.
Yeah.
What's a big play? You definitely have counters.
Because I can cast, because I can bump Chandra. And then alt Ren. And then I still get to keep Ren.
Good.
So that's the scary part, is like, it's not just that, it's like when
Right.
ulting Ren is usually not so bad if you're actually like -7 Ren when she's at when they're at -7, when they're at 7 loyalty, but when they're at 8 loyalty,
yeah, it's a problem.
It gets real dumb, yeah.
So I'm in a position where I have a couple of options. So I can attempt to cast both Life from the Loams this turn, because I can dredge one or dredge both, get them in my hand, and discard some cards.
Right.
If you counter one, then I don't think I have enough mana left to do the Thespian stage nonsense.
Right.
So I'm just going to start. I'm going to start with one.
Okay.
Yeah.
That wasn't a very good dredge.
Not particularly. I feel like if I pass the turn and I'm just dead. So I'm just going to dredge the other one. That is not a lot of no Thespian stages on.
No.
And it's not a second Bazaar. Yeah, I think I'm dead.
Well, you do have a second Bazaar there, but...
Do I have a second Bazaar?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I do. But
yeah, even then, like, to do that and cast Loam.
But death.
Yeah, it doesn't give you... let's see where it goes.
Yeah, I'll give it I'll give it a shot, but I'm not optimistic. Oh, right, I'm still my draw phase.
Yeah.
Seems relevant.
The question becomes if whether or not I actually want to counter the Loam or not, because there's no Thespian stage.
I don't think you do. I think you just try to counter whatever comes after it if there's anything.
Yeah. I think that's correct. Yeah, I think we just let that go. Yeah. Well, there's a Thespian stage. 2 Thespian stages.
Right on time, no one would say. Yeah. Doesn't really matter at this point what I get. I don't think.
I think I have to counter that one, though.
Yeah, it's probably not a bad idea.
Yeah. Just to buy some time here. All right. So The real question is how I am gonna do this. This is a really weird situation. All right, so we're gonna do that. We're gonna alt run in 6. So
Beautiful.
Okay, so we're gonna cast Ancestral Recall, pitching this Polluted Delta. Let's see here. Cast this Ponder.
The real question is, what's the most creative way you can do here?
Well, I would need to find like Strip Mine Time Walk.
I believe in you. I believe in
Yeah,
you.
that's. And I don't know that we're. I haven't played a land yet for turn, so. Try to do some actual filtering as opposed to. Let's see here. I'll play this land for turn. I cast this Ancestral Recall.
Oh darn.
We can put some pressure on here.
Aha, but maybe not.
Oh yeah, you're right. Forgot about that.
It's not bad. It's not.
No, I forgot about the Glacial Chasm. Okay. So I have an option here.
Interesting.
I have 7 cards in hand at least, so that's good.
You have an option here.
I do have an option. So let's. I don't know if it's a good option, but it's an option. I think you're at the point where.
I gotta let the chasm go.
Yeah. There's no way you can.
No, it's because I can't. Even if I had a Thespian Stage to copy it, I'll still lose the 2 life.
Right.
There's nothing I want to do with it. I can only imagine how many counters are in your hand. More than 2. Maybe.
No, but the one I have is a good one. So.
It's got to be a force indication.
Yeah, it's the best counter.
It's not bad. Not bad.
No.
Also incredibly rude, but
Yeah. That one's the best one against. I found that one's usually the best one against this deck.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because of the exile clause. So.
Yeah, I don't know why they had to make it exile, but
I don't know either, but
the folks at Wizards seem to be happy with it. So. Now I have to think here. I mean, I'm definitely dead, but how can I pretend that I'm alive?
Well, you can buy at least a turn with Glacial Chasm if I can't find a card.
Yes.
So, like, that is definitely an option.
Yeah, it's probably what I'll end up doing. Just trying to think if there's any other way that I can prolong my weary life.
I think at max I'll be all. I don't know. We'll see how many Ancestral Recalls I can cast next turn.
It's gotta be a couple.
At least 2, I think. So, yeah.
That's a lot of Ancestrals.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Just for fun.
Yeah. That's not
Not
bad.
gonna do anything, but
This is the only example of when we kind of get when I can kind of get above it. Is
You got Ancient Grudge or something?
I wish. I do have a main deck of Braid, but like that's all right. So let's start with Ancestral. Pitches Tropical Island.
Pretty good, pretty good. It's all right. My plan is that you'll deck yourself.
I don't think that's likely.
I don't either.
Although I've come close. Let's just say I have come excessively close to that scenario. And it's just because you run into these scenarios where like you have a Risen Reef and like two young Pyromancers. So we're actually,
I don't think I have any outs left because you're just gonna get your strip mine.
We're gonna get Treasure Cruise.
It's strip mine or time walk, and that's the game.
Gee, mini Christmas. I guess. Cast this chick.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Oh well, so it found us the time walk at least.
There we go. Okay.
So
Yeah.
I have time walk loop to be able to find the strip mine at this point.
Yep. And even if it's the last card of your deck, you got it.
Right. Build your own time vault. Who needs time vault and vault key?
It's not bad.
Nope. Red and 6 does it all for you. Apparently, this is something I've learned in my rules delving, but apparently that also works with adventure creatures. So apparently you can retrace adventures from the graveyard, because by the time you go to put it on the stack, it becomes a legal spell to cast.
Oh, interesting.
So that was pretty interesting to learn. I did not know that until somebody, like I was doing some rules reading and somebody pointed that out. I was like, oh, neat.
Yeah, I've never heard of.
I don't know that I might. There's a couple of those that are actually seeing play in Vintage though. So, namely, Brazen Borrower is like the one that I've seen a couple people play the bounce spell.
I've seen a couple of those.
Yeah, the people play the bounce spell because it's a bounce spell attached to a 3/1 flyer, which is not bad. So,
I would say it's pretty good.
The one that I've seen so far, have you played against any of the survival decks playing Questing Beast in the sideboard at all?
No, I haven't seen that, but that card is awesome.
Yeah, like it's like I've got a Glacial Chasm and now it doesn't matter.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it basically turns off Glacial Chasm, is what I've heard, is what it comes in for. So those matchups where like you play Glacial Chasm and they're like Questing Beast, and it's like their entire team can just attack.
I don't like that.
So, yeah, it's a pretty dumb Magic card. That does not kill Oko, Thief of Crowns. And
nothing kills Oko.
Nothing kills Oko.
nothing kills Oko.
Yeah, this might be fine. What to bottom though is the real question here.
Am I on another mulligan here?
I mulled the 6 and I'm questioning what to bottom at this point.
I'm trying to think if there's. Yeah.
Because this hand is really good and I don't want to bottom anything, but I have to.
Not getting the goods with these hands. I don't think I can keep this. No, that's just not good enough.
I'm gonna keep, but I have to bottom something, I guess. I'm gonna bottom this card, but it seems real bad. I probably shouldn't have bottomed that. For the
Oh,
record, I bought him at a young pyromancer, and
Let's go down to 4.
I feel like I shouldn't have.
Bottom to young pyro.
Yeah. I don't know that I should have, but the rest of the hand is just so good.
Yeah, my hand is not spectacular, but I think I have to take a very high variance play here. So I'm going to do it. So I'm down to 4.
Yeah.
And
I mean, as we saw already, this deck can come back from, as low as 5 even and just still like
it can
scrape out a win.
I'm putting some rough stuff. It's not. I could be happier with this hand. I got to go for this.
Oh, that happens. Like when I played at the Team Series Invitational a few weeks ago, my hand was. I had games where I was like, oh, I've got this. Oh, that's pretty good. Wow, that's actually really good. Shite.
I went for the really high variance here.
Shite. Yeah, that was actually not too bad.
I mean, you still have a million cards.
Yeah, but like it was not fantastic. But I'm glad I bottomed that young pyromancer actually.
Well, there you go.
Because that would have felt really bad to bottom something else, and
it's the little things in life.
Do I want to do this now? I guess I should do this now.
Seems reasonable.
It wasn't. The narrator says it was in fact not. Well, maybe it was. Wait a minute. Things just changed. I drew a card. I drew 3 cards, and then I drew another card and said, oh, maybe this is fine. Crud. Do I want to do that, though? I don't know if I want to do this yet. I want to do this first.
Interesting. Sounds like someone drew some removal.
I did, but I don't know if I want to actually play it yet. Because I don't know if I want to turn your Mox back on yet. That's the real question. Like, I drew in a braid. I was just going to tell you. I drew in a braid.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I actually want to...
I hear that.
Turn your Mox Emerald back on just yet.
Let's see. What did you? Did you bottom one bottom, one top?
Yeah.
We're playing for high variance here.
Ooh. Yeah. So see.
Yeah, I'm so far behind. Like, I don't want to do that.
No, that's
terrible.
It's pretty good, all things considering.
I mean, so is that. That's pretty good.
I mean, it had to happen. I don't know that it's fantastic, but
seems reasonable.
I'm gonna die to this collector oof.
I've had a few games like that recently.
And then I'm gonna say oof.
What even is an oof? What a
they're like troll-like creatures, I think.
I'm just say it should be troll.
Like something like that. They're a specific like race type thing. I don't know. They are something within the Magic, lore. I haven't. They don't really do a lot with them in Magic lore. So.
Okay. Yeah. Is there only one other? I know of one other.
Aren't whatchamacallit? What is the name of the kitchen things? Aren't they oofs too?
Maybe. Oh, see, that's a good card.
Yeah.
I think that kills me. I think that's probably it.
Well, like, I don't know that I still want to turn on your. I don't want to turn your Mox back on because it's extra mana.
I mean, you've got to have.
I do this instead. Sure.
That seems very good.
Like, I don't know that I need to turn on the Mox at this point. Like, I'm still taking some damage, but I think I can survive to do stuff. It's very risky of me to do this.
Well, it might work out for you.
Like,
I also am really second guessing my decision to put in Forest rather than Savannah.
Cavern Soul's still good.
Yeah.
Like, if you get a prelate into play, I'm pretty dead. How do I want to do this? I guess we have to turn the Mox back on, I guess.
I think you definitely do that.
Yeah. Because
I think I'm very behind you.
then we can resolve Treasure Cruise.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
And then we can resolve this chain.
I had a that's pretty good. I had a judgment call to put something on the bottom. It's not going to work out for me.
We'll just get this Force of Will.
Seems pretty good.
Lots and lots of Force of Wills. I should have attacked. I'm really bad at attacking with Risen Reef. I'm not going to lie. I will pass games where I'm just like, oh, I probably should have attacked for one.
Right.
And it just happens all the time.
Yeah, I do that kind of thing all the time. I wish I could Thespian Stage.
Thespian Stage what?
I wish I could Thespian Stage with Cavern of Souls.
Oh, yeah. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that.
Unfortunately not.
No. Make it a forest. Foresto.
Yeah, I'm 99% sure I'm dead. But we'll play it out. That Abrade is
We're gonna pay mana for this. Yeah, so Sanctum Prelate, Tabernacle.
I kept the Tabernacle in my hand and not in my opener.
Ah, okay.
I figured I was pressuring your mana hard and in.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere the mana went, what?
I figured there was a good chance you were cutting lightning bolts and stuff like that.
I caught like one or two of them. We'll play Chandra. And we'll draw some cards.
Yeah.
This is a good instance of what this deck does, because you're like, oh yeah, I just drew some cards. I'm gonna put that land into play. I almost never do that, but like I've got 7 cards in hand. I don't want to ditch a card.
Yeah.
So
I really have almost no. Do I even want to copy a land with Sage? Does that even do anything for me? Not really, but we'll copy this for fun. I'll copy the copy. It's photocopied.
yeah, so many forests.
So many insane forests.
So many insane forests. That's standard right now. Didn't you know that? So many insane green cards. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You are going to get that Sanctum Prelate at least. Ooh. That card is a 2/1, isn't it? Or a 2/2?
2/2.
2/2. So that's.
I mean, you're drawing a million cards.
Yeah, but
I'm not even sure what number I'm supposed to name here.
I still feel like 1 is okay, because like at this point, like I don't know if I actually have actual interaction to get rid of it.
Yeah, I feel like I have to do that.
Like, yeah, I don't actually think I have actual interaction to get rid of it at this point.
I think it has to be 1. I'm not thrilled with it, but
no, I mean, the only interaction I have, Yeah, I mean, because I'm not playing Oko anymore, so.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah, I can see why you would cut Oko in this deck.
yeah,
You've got enough.
it
Yeah.
doesn't do enough.
Yeah, you've got enough Planeswalker hate naturally with creatures, and there's no real like hate card
No.
that it's gonna hit.
Screw it. Let's draw more cards.
Seems reasonable.
Yeah, that's fine. I can't cast this card. I can't cast this card. This card can go into play. Whatever.
I'm so dead.
Like make some elementals and draw
Nice.
four cards.
Both these matches have been blowouts.
Yeah, they've been kind of nuts. I guess we'll put this land into play. I guess we'll put this land into play. I don't really care about these lands at this point. There's another card I can't cast. All these 1 CMC spells that do nothing.
Also, come on, Glacial Chasm.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Wouldn't hate it.
I guess I have to attack.
This is another reason why I'm playing lists now that have 4 Sanctum Prelates, because the redundancy of the effect is very strong.
Yeah, no, absolutely is. I guess we play another Narset.
Seems good.
Then we Narset. Does this do something? I guess we get this Merchant Scroll and we Merchant Scroll.
Yeah, seems good.
And get Dig Through Time.
Yep. Okay.
Then we pass turn and we pitch a lot of stuff. So I guess we pitch Metal Misstep. We can pitch this Preordain. We can pitch this Ponder, and that's fine. All these spells I'm not casting.
Oh, that's interesting.
Oh no.
What would I even name with a second Sanctum?
Oh god. 8.
Yeah,
No,
just that.
actually,
the hate.
two
just
two is pretty good.
That's what I'm thinking of.
2 is pretty good. Well, 2 doesn't shut off Young Pyro, but it shuts off like Ren and 6.
Yeah.
But it also shuts off Time Walk.
Yeah. Yeah, at 2, there's just those. It shuts off my own loams, though, so that's something to consider.
Oh, yeah. That's true.
There's always 5.
Yeah, 5 for Force of Will, yeah.
Force of Will. Doesn't
Yeah.
hit Fortification, obviously, but you used no counters against me. Yeah, so what would I even... There's one... I mean, Time Walk is what kills me most immediately.
Yeah, like 2 is pretty good. Chosen creature type is Cleric, everybody. Just remember that. It's great.
I like that it's a Cleric.
Yeah. Yep. 1 and 2 seems pretty good. I'm surprised you wouldn't try to pressure Narset.
I don't want you to block with the Risen Reefs. I don't even. You're gonna draw so many cards.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. It seems kind of. I guess we're gonna resolve this Dig Through Time.
I mean, because if my Sanctum Prelate at 1 dies, then you just kill the other one.
That's true.
So
yeah.
I lose both.
That's true. Yeah.
I just need to hang on for dear life right now. I need to top deck one of the 2 Dark Depths I put on the bottom.
There's a lot of options here, and I don't know which ones I want to take, because I guess we'll do that. It's really, really not. I'm just going to put Dig Through Time back on top of my library.
Oh, what a shame.
With this. Yeah, so I'd like to use that. We can
And there's the kill right there.
Young Pyromancer into play.
Oh my lord.
Draw some more cards. I'm gonna draw myself out of this game though, so just watch.
Yeah, that's what I want you to do.
Like, sure, let's just keep putting lands into play. And let's fetch, because you know I don't think I have lands in my deck, but we want to.
But you want your dig through time.
Right? Yeah. I want to cast Dig Through Time for a lot of without having a lot of mana investment. Yep. What is left in my deck? What can I do? I don't know that I can do anything.
I think you just chip away at me. And hope I don't get Glacial Cat or Dark Depths. And
yeah,
you
pretty much.
You make a million tokens.
I mean, I can make some because I can't cast one CMC spells.
You can make more than a few.
Just take these 2 cards. I do have 13 cards left in my library, though, so that is certainly a consideration. Oh, I should have attacked. Meh. Well, you could have blocked both of those, so.
Yeah, it's fine. Unless you just randomly threw in a slice and dice, and I would just.
Oh dear God, I would kill for that right now.
I would commend you and rue you.
I'm just gonna pitch all these cards that don't do anything. Like, I'm not casting Flusterstorm anytime soon.
No, I don't think so. I have a couple of outs, but there are a few.
I mean, I'm just gonna take this Mox Ruby, I guess. And pass the turn, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing with my life anymore.
I don't know what I'm doing with mine either.
Okay. That's good to know. Okay. Bazaar is a thing.
Bazaar is reasonable.
I guess this is fine.
Yeah, I mean it's a 2/1.
Yeah.
It's a 2-mana 2/1 in vintage. How not?
That's all we care about, right? Yep. I should be attacking you. I'm so bad at this game. It was so much fun. Wow.
Oh, I don't even know what to do now. So many elementals. So many insane elementals.
Yep. Okay. Bazaar.
Oh, right. I'm so dumb. All right. Bazaar's not a thing. I forgot.
Oh, because you had...
Yeah. Yep. That was not ideal. This is what I'm talking about. Inattentive play. I can never remember the thing.
You had... You only put 2 cards in your hand? Oh, because you...
Yeah,
oh, because you had...
Yeah. I just forgot.
Because I have Narset. Yeah, okay.
It's 1 a.m. after a 10-hour day.
Yeah, that's... I was like, wait a minute. Like, I don't know what I'm doing now.
Yeah,
okay.
that was bad. Quite bad.
I guess we're gonna...
Would I even care if you run your... I don't know. I'll just let you. Why not?
I mean, that's got to be my way to win at this point. Is
Yeah, I think attacking with Pyromancer is perfect there.
pin this force a will. Uh,
What didn't make sense was trying to use my Bazaar back then.
yeah, I mean that happens. Narset is a thing. She does do things against that.
She's been known to. But I don't even know if
I didn't even activate Chandra last turn for any reason.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just dead. I haven't seen. I needed a glacial. I needed one of my 2 chasms or my 2 depths, or another sanctum. Really.
Why not?
Yeah, I'm so dead.
I mean, I'm dead. I'm dead if I cast a spell.
Yeah.
I can't actually cast a spell at this point.
Yeah. I mean, well, you can't cast an instant or sorcery.
Yes, quite literally. Yeah. Yeah. If I cast an or sorcery, I am actually just dead. So that's amusing.
Yeah, I'm probably just supposed to block here. Is there any reason why I don't?
I don't
Time
know.
lock?
It depends on which one
I haven't seen a time lock.
Which
you have
one?
a time lock.
Which one do you think you might want to block?
Time lock's worse for me than this damage, I think.
Yes.
I'm just gonna say yeah.
I mean, you could block. You could theoretically block the one that is set to 1 because I've been ditching all these 1 CMC cards and exiling a lot of these 1 CMC cards.
Right.
Oh, I wish I'd have that a braid about now. Oh, you have something. Oh, oof is fine. Oof, oofity oof.
Yeah. I lost you there.
I said oofity oof.
Ah, I missed the good stuff.
Oof. Like, I mean, I guess we just have to. Do I attack with the elemental too? Like, do we just pressure that hard? Do we just pressure with everybody? Does it matter? Yeah, let's just pressure with it. Let's just pressure.
Hmm.
I mean, if you have to block something.
I definitely have to block something. Definitely have to block something. I'm just thinking like.
Oh, actually, I'm a dummy.
What?
I know I messed up. I messed up the combat math. I actually saw it as soon as I attacked.
You messed up a combo?
I know I messed up the combat math.
Oh, because you could have killed me?
No. There's a very clear way you actually can just win. So it's awesome.
There's a very clear way I can win.
Yeah. For simplicity's sake, I'll point it out. If you block, the Risen Reefs and then the Elemental, you only take 6.
Yeah.
And then you swing back on the crackback and kill me.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah. Yeah. I am quite little. I needed to hold back.
Yeah.
The Risen Reefs. So. Oh well.
Right, because you can't.
I can't cast any spells that are relevant. No.
Well, you could. Well, no, but you could no that's not gonna work. I don't know. Let's just do it. Let's have fun.
No, I know you are totally good. Like you go to 2. About the only thing I can do.
Folks, we are 2 tired Magic players,
Yep.
but we
Yep.
might have to play a game 3.
Yeah, no, I'm just dead. Like I don't have a I don't
Yeah,
know.
you don't have a Snapcaster.
No. So yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
that was a cool misplay.
Well,
Yep.
you saw the power of Sanctum Prelate. Like, it didn't exactly. It didn't do its main job.
Oh no, it did its job. All right. I was not able to cast things. So I had to pitch away a lot of cards. But yeah. I forgot I was at 5. So
Yeah, I was. My brain was not processing that information either.
when you see that's one of the things about like vintage decks where like you're just like, okay, well, I guess I just attack with creatures. I guess I just attack with creatures. And then you're like, why am I dying? Oh, that's right, because I shouldn't have attacked with creatures. So,
We should see if I want to make any changes.
oh, I did want to make one change.
That's all right. I didn't press enter yet.
Yeah. What's the change I needed to make there? That's right. Take that out. I don't think Flusterstorm is a very good card for this matchup. Like at all.
It could be a problem or not effective.
Yeah, I mean, you could also, like, sometimes you can generate a lot of mana. So, like, that sometimes helps a lot. I hit submit. FYI.
Okay, I just hit submit too.
Okay, good. All right. So, that's awful? Yeah, that's kind of bad.
Well, that's an interesting hand. I think I have to keep that.
I'm going to keep bottom this card. So I'm going to start with a Preordain. Bottom top.
Bottom top, you say?
Bottom top.
Bottom top.
That's right. Blah. Sure.
Oh, I love me some strip mine.
Yup. That was a pretty good strip mine. That was a really good strip mine.
Oh my god.
Yep.
Yeah, that wasn't. Oh my god. That's a tough one, huh?
Yeah. I didn't draw land. Savannah pass. Hey, I drew a land.
There we go.
Yeah. It was not a good land. But no, it was a good land. It was fine land. Yep, Mox Diamond. Pitching Savannah. Now see? That's rude. Rude.
But effective.
Yep. Absolutely effective. Super effective. I should have probably countered that Mox Diamond.
I mean, there's only 3 caverns. There's only 3 prelates. So I don't know.
I mean, I feel like I probably should have, though. Like, it definitely feels like a card because of the, it's just, I don't know. I mean, you had a Savannah. You ditched a Savannah off of it, so
Yeah.
like it was coming down the next turn. Well, I guess let's give you something else to attack. Try and pressure Renin 6, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's not where I want to be, but it's where I am.
No, I mean it is a good effective card at soaking up some damage. Ugh, I don't like seeing that.
Do you have a way to resolve?
Do I have a way to what?
Do you have a way to beat a 2020? I'll just pass. It's fine.
I don't think I do.
I don't think you do either. Yeah, I mean, Stripline may have been the star of the show, but Prelate was a good co-star.
Yeah. I mean, we can.
This is why Prelate's like my favorite thing right now. What do you get here? Like Gush?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Seems like an okay thing. No, I'm just dead.
Yeah.
I'm tired. I'm just dead. So, yeah.
Me too.
All right, cool. So that was a lot of fun. But I think we're gonna cut that off because I think we're both so super tired.
Yeah, maybe if we were more awake. I got to work at 7:00 this morning.
Yeah. This will make for some fun matches though to show on camera though, so that'll be cool.
It will. We got to see the range of what our decks can do and what we as pilots can't do.
Yeah, which is play Magic.
Which is play Magic the Gathering.
Yep. Yep. So, all right. Well, thank you for playing some games with me. Well, so those was a fun game. So we had a lot of fun tonight, and I just want to thank Greg for taking this time out to join us this month for this. I'm going to say this week on every episode, even though I'm putting them out monthly. Just telling you right now, I have no real set, stuff for these episodes. It's just gonna be, by the seat of my pants and fun, and that'll be fine. So no need for editing or anything like that. Who needs it?
Unnecessary.
Yeah, unnecessary. So, but yeah. So I want to thank Greg for joining us. It's been a lot of fun. We've had a lot of fun talks about this deck. Is there any place that anybody can reach you as far as Twitter or anything like that you want to pop out there? Anybody you want to, give shout outs to as to, who's helped you out with this or, anything else that you want to say before we go?
Yeah, so you can follow me at Twitter, ZSMTG. And yeah, I do want to give a couple of shout outs. The past couple of years, or the past year, just in terms of my life, has been pretty tough.
Right.
The stress of a PhD, some like family issues, some health issues, really tough. But at the same time, I've really met a lot of great people in the Magic community, and I've been really, I've been playing Vintage for a long time, but I never really went to paper events. I didn't really know anybody in the community, but that's really all changed in the last year. So as I was experiencing the most stressful period in my life, I was embraced by a very warm Vintage community. And you were one of those people.
Thank you.
every time that we played against each other, it was just nice. Like you were just so positive and happy and good time talking.
Right.
And it's different. It's just different when some games are just really competitive and no one says anything. Fine, but you were just a warm and kind person to talk to, and I'm really glad I got to know you.
Thank you.
I
Appreciate that.
Getting to know you.
Yeah.
And I remember you posted after one of our matches that like you had a tough week, but it was it was just really nice playing a game with me. Like you just shouted me out on Twitter, and like
Right.
that meant a lot.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, yeah, you're great. So you, Erin Campbell is another person.
Yeah. Erin's awesome.
So yeah, we first got in touch because I'd gotten a trophy with a Mishra's Workshop dredge deck, and she's like, hey, maybe you'll play this on the VSL. And she ultimately did that.
Yeah, that she did.
But Erin is great. She's a really kind and supportive person too. And,
yeah, absolutely.
Really, really glad I'm getting to know her.
Yeah.
And then two other people. I know, I'm going on and on, but I can't help myself.
You're fine.
So Matt Murray is another person. So I there was a point where I had deleted my the Mana Drain account. I was just like in a period of stress, and I wasn't handling some of my losses in Magic Online well. Psychological transference, what a thing.
Right.
But when I came back onto Magic Online, or came back onto the Mana Drain and created an account, he messaged me and said, hey, I'm really glad you're back.
Right.
And that just, you didn't have to do that.
Yeah. No, Matt's a great guy. Yeah, he's been really helpful to me too. So.
Yeah, he's a very great member of the community.
Yeah.
And the last person is Justin Gennari. Also been like very, very warm and welcoming.
Yeah.
I met him for the first time, but I don't know if he even remembers at the Mana Drain Open. Must have been a year and a half ago, and we talked a lot in his stream. He's been also like really supportive, or said a lot of nice things about some of the really crazy decks that I've been playing. And again, he's just a really good dude. Glad I've gotten to know him too. So you four have made a pretty positive impact in the past year.
Awesome.
So I wanted to thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Absolutely. So like I said, I absolutely always enjoy playing against you. It's almost always just a blast. I'm glad you were able to come on and help me out with this episode. It's been a lot of fun. So I'm really, really enjoying having you on this month, and hopefully we can do some more again in the future. Be definitely great to do a little bit more collaboration and stuff like that.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yep. So as that wraps up this month's episode of the Bazaar of Moxology, just a reminder that if you do want to support the show, please go take a look and subscribe on YouTube. Please go follow me on Twitter. Please go, check out my Patreon, please. That really does help a lot. I know it doesn't seem like $2 a month or something like that helps, but content creators, really, really do appreciate support from you guys out there. So just take a look, support the content. Come on and just let me know what you think. And of course, we can't end this out without saying, cue the music.